Well, somebody's asking me about Dr. Douglas Graham's new book, The 80-10-10 Diet. Well, let's be fair and say that I haven't read it, but I've had many times the opportunity to be conferencing at the same conference as Dr. Graham. His view of raw food comes pretty much from a classic natural hygiene view of raw food consumption. And Dr. Graham, I'm sure, has the best intents with what he's saying. But it pretty much completely is the opposite of what we've learned through real research at Hippocrates over the last 52 years. And when somebody says things, as I often hear, like, fruit was the original food for mankind, and it still should be today in 2008, there's a whole lot missing in that story. You've just opened a book, read the first paragraph, and shut the book and think you have the answer. The point is that fruit today does not even resemble fruit from 100 years ago, no less than 5,000 years ago, or 20,000 years ago, or longer ago than that. Fruit has been hybrid for thousands of years. That's only one part of the story. It's been hybrid for sugar. The second part of the story is anatomically we're radically different than we were, and anatomically different by far, we've just mentioned that earlier with B12, than we were 100 years ago, no less, 1,000 or 2 or 5,000 years ago. Our bodies can no longer ingest this high amount of sugar because our pancreases are pretty much dysfunctional. It's so rare that we find somebody with a healthy pancreas now. It's a talking point for all of us very interested in healthcare. We get on the phone and talk about a healthy pancreas, the one we rarely find every 6 years. And so the pancreas is what absorbs, regulates, and adjusts sugars in the body. If that's not functional, imagine having a high fructose substance like a fruit or a carrot juice or a beet juice. What happens to it? Well, what happens to it is those sugars pour into the blood, and we have a name for that. It's called blood sugar. Now, the last part of this story is, if you want to be a little philosophical, and even the New Agers will like this stuff, we go back to biblical times, and we basically ask the question about how humans originally ate. And one of the things that I used to quote when I was consuming massive amounts of fruit in my diet, before I got ill and stopped, is, what did our ancestors do? Well, your ancestors ate fruit from the tree as meat and herbs from the earth as medicine. Now, just with that philosophical view, let's forget all the real science I've just given you. Today, don't you think all of us on this earth, on this very disturbed, very polluted, very, very, very touchy planet, are not all healing? Is it now not the time that we need the greens to heal us, to take the pollution out that didn't exist not too long ago, to take the heavy metals out of our bodies that didn't exist before the Industrial Revolution, to give us the protein strengths we talked about 18, 19 minutes ago? Of course. Thinking people know that. Now, I'm sure that Dr. Graham has good intent, and I like the man. I just hope that those of you listening can release your addictive patterns from consuming sugars, be it a fruit or be it white sugar or honey, and start to gravitate towards those things that have been proven and where we stand now at this point in history, not where we stood thousands of years ago.